This is Morning Motivation for Educators on the Bee Podcast Network. Learn about all the shows at beepodcastnetwork.com. You'll hear from a variety of formal and informal educators who help put this podcast together. If you'd like to contribute your voice to this show, please go to morningmotivationedu.com to apply.
Welcome to Morning Motivation for Educators. I'm Danielle Neufer, and after almost 25 years in the classroom and 2 experiences with my own burnout, I've learned that sustaining this work isn't about pushing through. It's about building capacity. Teachers are the future, but to teach the next generation well, we have to be well ourselves. For too long, teaching has celebrated the idea that exhaustion equals dedication. I don't believe that. This podcast is about you. About showing up grounded, steady, and powerful so that you can lead your classroom without burning out. Small shifts, honest reflection, practical tools so you can do this work and still have a life. You don't have to run on empty. You can be well, and that matters more than anything. Lately, I've been hearing a version of the same thing from a lot of teachers. I feel like I'm on overdrive, but not really going anywhere. Trying to do a lot while also trying to slow down. Holding a lot while also feeling like it's never quite enough. And there's this tension underneath it all, wanting to do right by your students while working inside a system that doesn't always make that possible. So let me say this clearly. There are things happening in education right now that are not okay, and naming that matters. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. And it's not about thinking your way out of real challenges, but it is about getting honest about where your energy goes, because that matters too. As I've been sitting with this, I found myself thinking about something I wrote over 6 years ago, right as COVID shut everything down. I remember that time so clearly. I wasn't feeling particularly inspired, and if I'm being honest, I felt pretty low. Like I was doing a lot, but not really going anywhere. Trying to be productive and also slow down, and not really doing either of those things well. Then one day I remember feeling good. I took a shower, I got dressed in the morning. Well, that was a win. And I almost didn't write it all because I had that familiar feeling, wanting to crawl into a hole and not reach out until I had it more together. But something small shifted. I listened to a podcast about a man who survived solitary confinement and came out stronger on the other side. What stayed with me wasn't his circumstances, it was his focus. He said that even in the most restrictive conditions, there was still a few things he could control. What he consumed, how he moved his body, and how he trained his mind. And it brought me back to the Serenity Prayer. Not as a nice quote, but as a practice. So I want to bring this back as an exercise, not as a fix, but as a way to see more clearly. The prayer begins, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. There are things in this profession that are bigger than you. Policies you didn't create, expectations that keep shifting, decisions that don't always center teachers or students, gaps that you were asked to fill that shouldn't be yours alone. You can care about these things and also recognize that carrying all of them is not sustainable. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement. It means seeing clearly what is not yours to hold by yourself. The courage to change the things I can. And then there is a space that is yours. It might feel small some days, but that isn't insignificant. How you greet your students, the tone you set in your room, when you pause instead of push, how you structure your time, even in small ways, what you say yes to and what you don't, how you take care of yourself in the middle of the day, not just after it. Closing your door and doing your version of good work is not giving up. It's focusing your energy where it actually makes an impact. And finally, the last part of the Serenity Prayer, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is the hardest part. Because teaching has always asked us to blur that line, to take on more, to care more, to give more. But wisdom is not doing everything. It's discerning. What is mine to carry today? What is mine? What is not mine, even if it's being handed to me? And where does my effort actually make a difference? Where am I being pulled into something that drains me without changing anything? When I did this exercise years ago, I realized I had more choice than I thought. I still believe that, but now I would add something a little bit more. Having choice doesn't mean you are responsible for everything. And doing your job well does not mean absorbing what is not okay. We can name what is not working and still choose how we show up. We can care deeply without carrying it all. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is close the door, take a breath, and teach in a way that feels aligned with who we are, right in the middle of a system that still needs to grow. If this idea resonated, you can explore these ideas further at Teaching Well or in my book, The Path of the Mindful Teacher. Find links to these and other resources in the show notes or at teachingwell.life. Remember, the greatest predictor of a school's success is the health and well-being of its teachers.
Thanks for listening. And whatever role you have in education, we have a podcast for you at bpodcastnetwork.com. Who among your friends and colleagues needs to hear this message today? Please share it with them right now.